Welcome to the first 412 video. And so I wanted to put together a few thoughts for you each before we jump together in our first meeting coming up in April. I know that when we gathered and kind of cast vision for 412, Emily ended up teaching the triangle, but I wanted to review that right now just to help cement that into our brains, because I think it's going to be a pretty critical piece of it. So I'm going to take over the screen and put up a fancy little whiteboard. Okay. So what we were talking about, Emily mentioned this, is that especially in the book of Luke, and it's in chapter 6, it's actually verses 12 to 18, you see this really interesting thing happen in Jesus' life. So he's already began his public ministry. He's already, begun to do some of the miraculous works that he's done. He's already begun to teach people. He already has some people following him around, but you see this interesting connection between all three of these types of relationships that Jesus invested in. And so the Bible describes that first he goes up onto a mountain all night long to pray. We don't get to hear like what he prays about there, but it does seem like because he comes straight down from the mountain and he selects the 12 disciples to come be with him out of all of the followers that are there, it does seem like he probably spent some time talking with God the Father about that selection. So he comes down the mountain, chooses these followers to come be with him in this close relationship. He's going to teach them and train them to do the things that he's doing. And the very first lesson is he turns from choosing those guys and he actually begins to pivot toward those that I would say are like the last, the least, and the lost, people who aren't in the family of God. And so he has a heart and a sensitivity and love toward them. So he does all kinds of things. He like heals sick people. He casts out demons. He does all of these things to be able to love people. And the disciples are there getting to be able to watch it. So we're going to use this tool as a way to be able to get a picture of what kind of relationships did Jesus invest in. The first one is he invested in a strong, vibrant relationship with God the Father. That's the up dimension. So that's going to mean that because Jesus is the pattern we want to live after, we want to be able to have strong upward relationships to God the Father. But first part of the second part of the triangle is that Jesus didn't just have these upward relationships. He also called these disciples into relationship, and it was in with the disciples. These are a really close group of friends, you could say, comrades, team members. He's going to teach them and train them to do the things that he does so that when he's gone, they can actually do it in his place. And so he has this inward relationship with the disciples. And then, like I mentioned, first lesson that he gives to these disciples is he pivots because he's focused on loving the world. He's been sent on a mission by the Father. And so what he does is he focuses on the outward relationship to the world, to the people that are around him, that he is able to be able to love and impact. And so this is a way that we would look at our own lives. We want to pattern 412 after this. So we want to do upward oriented things. That'll be like when we pray, when we worship, when we do some of those things that are connecting us together as a group to the Father. There are going to be a lot of things that we do as disciples. We're going to share meals together. That's a big part of it. We're going to laugh and have some fun together. We've got, we'll be telling you soon about the first bike trip that we actually have planned. Those are all going to be inward things, but even these videos right here are really about like teaching and training and equipping. And then we're also going to do this stuff out. In the beginning, this will start really simple. It'll probably be, we'll just begin to pray for people in our lives, maybe that need some kind of care. But eventually we're actually going to go and do stuff together so that we can love the kind of people that God had sent Jesus to be able to love as well. So again, this is like a simple pattern for us to be able to look at the life of Jesus and a way for us to be able to look at how we want to pattern our lives in 412 together. And then you can individually look at this. This is like a mirror. You could begin to say, well, how is my up relationship with God right now? On the application, that might have to do with like reading the Bible or praying. You could also look at this. How are my in-dimension relationships with other people going the same direction that I'm going, following Jesus in the same ways that I'm following him? And then you can look at this. Am I loving people outside of the family of God? Do I have my heart turned toward them? And am I able to practically and safely love people outside of the family of God? So here's a tool that we're going to use. We'll call the triangle, and it's a pattern of Jesus relationship life. Take care, guys.